kids, welcome back to Fort Carson Kids Time. I'm Chaplain Jonathan Court, and this is my wife, Alyssa. Today we're going to be talking about obedience and how it's good for us to obey even when we don't understand why. So the song we're going to start off with today is Obedience is the Very Best Way. Why don't you sing with us? Our verse for today comes from the book 2 Kings, chapter 5, verse 14. And it says, Naaman waded out into the Jordan River and stooped down in it 7 times, just as Elijah had told him.
Okay, so let's go ahead and say that again. 2 Kings 5:14. Naaman waded out into the Jordan River and stooped down in it 7 times, just as Elisha had told him. Let's do it again.
Right.
2 Kings 5:14. Naaman waded out into the Jordan River, stooped down in it 7 times, just as Elisha had told him. Let's do it again. 2 Kings 5:14. Naaman waded out into the Jordan River and stooped down in it 7 times, just as Elisha had told him. That story is going to help us learn that it's really good to obey even when you don't know why, because things could happen that's unexpected. Well, there was a man, and his name was Naaman. And he had a skin disease called leprosy. We don't know exactly what that means, but we do know it meant he had some issue with his skin. It was a very contagious disease and something that was really hard to be cured of. Usually they didn't get better from it. Well, he was so upset, he wanted to figure out what he could do about this. And you have to know that Naaman was one of a very, very high-ranking soldier. And he was talking to his wife about what he should do. And his wife had a servant girl. And the servant girl told his wife, I know somebody from my town that can help. And his name is Elisha. So his wife told Naaman what the servant girl had said, and Naaman said, I gotta go see this guy and see if he can help me out. So he gets on his chariot and he brings a whole bunch of presents to give to this man, Elisha. And at that time, there were prophets in the land that were able to perform miracles. And Elisha was one of those prophets. So Naaman went to Elisha and he knocked on the door to ask if Elisha could come out. But guess what? It was a servant who came out to say hi to Naaman and said, hey, what do you need? And Naaman says, well, can I talk to Elisha? You know I'm super important. I'm a high-ranking soldier. And the servant, his name was Gehazi, and he said, no, I'll go talk to my person for you. So he goes back to Elisha and he said, there's a high-ranking official here, and he wants to be clean of his disease. And Elisha said, okay, I know God's going to give the power to have him healed. He just has to go to the Jordan River and dip in it 7 times. So Gehazi came back and said, okay, here's what Elisha said to do. Go to the river, Jordan River, and dip into it 7 times. Well, Naaman was angry. Not only was he not getting the respect that he thought he deserved, but now they're telling him to do something that he really didn't want to do. Now, the Jordan River was disgusting. It was not the wonderful, beautiful waters that Naaman's country had. And so Naaman said, I'm not doing that. He's going to have to go into this river that is disgusting. And he was an important guy. He said, nope, I'm going home. So he turned around and he started to go home. Well, he had a servant with him, and his servant said, hey, all they asked you to do was go in some yucky water and dip 7 times. Wouldn't that be super easy? If they told you to do something hard, would you have done it? And Naaman thought about it and said, yeah, this is something easy for me to do or to obey and go do. So you're right. I have to be humble and I need to obey, even if I don't know and understand why. So he goes to the Jordan River and he goes into it and he dips down. Do you remember how many times he was supposed to dip? 7. Yes. And so he dipped the first time and came up and looked. And still the disease. He dipped down the second time and he came back up. Still the disease. He did it 3 times, still the disease. 4 times, still the disease. 5 times, still the disease. 6 times, still the disease. And then the 7th time, he had obeyed the entire time. And he was probably thinking 5th and 6th time, oh my goodness, this is not going to work. But he kept obeying even though he didn't think it was going to work. And sure enough, there was a miracle. His skin, it says, was even softer than a child's skin. And that's pretty cool for a man to have really smooth skin like that. And it went instantly away. And there's more to the story that we will share at another time. But that's the part we want you to remember today, is that Naaman did not want to obey. He didn't know why he had to go do that. He thought it was the most ridiculous thing, and he probably didn't think it was going to work. But yet he obeyed anyway, and he was able to see the reason why he should obey.
Thank you, Alyssa, for sharing that story with us. I can't wait for next week to hear the rest of the story. All right, we're going to look at, get up here close for you to see. I'm going to read our story from here today. First picture says, Naaman had a skin disease. See this, the owies on his arm? But the helper said, Elisha the prophet can heal your husband. And so Naaman's wife told him the good news. Naaman went to Elisha, but Elisha refused to see him. Elisha says, that's Elisha's helper here. Elisha says to wash 7 times in the Jordan River. See, he looked kind of mad. Why can't I wash in a river close to my house? Naaman finally did what Elijah had said. See, he obeyed. He washed 7 times in the river Jordan. And on that 7th time, Naaman was healed. Isn't that exciting?
So we're going to do a little activity today, and all you need is a piece of paper and a crayon, a marker, pen, or a pencil. And we're just going to make a list today. We are going to write down all the people that you can think of that you are supposed to obey. And if you don't know how to spell or write, then you can certainly draw some pictures. So you're going to write down all the different people that you are supposed to obey. And then once you have your list, you're going to circle one of those people that you are going to work hard to obey this week. So we've made a list. Do you want to read your list?
Sure. So I should obey God, and we know what God tells us to do because he tells us in the Bible. I should obey Mom, Dad, my teachers, and the people that watch me, my babysitters.
Yeah, and then you're going to pick one that you think you want to work on obeying. And one more thing about this obeying thing. It is most important to realize that you need to obey as long as these people are telling you to do something that is in the Bible. So when you have people that you're supposed to obey, almost all the time they're going to ask you to do something that's in the Bible. So remember that it's only for things that the Bible tells us to do.
Yeah. And since our parents love us and they want what's best for us, they always tell us to do what's good. They wouldn't tell us to be mean to someone, would they? No. So most of the time what they're telling us to do is going to be good, and we need to obey whether we understand or not.
Yes. And let's come back next week so that you can hear the rest of the story of Elisha and Naaman and the servants.
Perfect. Look forward to it. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.